welcome again in Bucharest. You're
Thank
one
you.
of the dearest guests of George Enescu Festival, and of course you were also the artistic director of this great event. I've started this series of podcasts with George Enescu Festival a few months ago, thinking about the TED Talks, where people come and share their experience to the public. So, my question is, for the viewers, of course, your answer is very important to them. What is a conductor?
Conductor is the communicator. Conductor is the, like in the electricity, is the one who makes the electric or musical waves pass through him or her and go straight to the orchestra. So conductor connects between the written score and the musicians who sit in front of their parts. But conductor also connects the music, which is thus created between the conductor and the players, to the audience. Mm-hmm. So the conductor communicates in two directions. The conductor communicates from the score to the musicians, and then from the musicians back to the audience.
Yes, and it's somehow a very beautiful process, because you have the score, it's a very objective thing, and you have to transform it into emotions. And of course, the orchestra is your instrument. You don't have your own one. You're not a pianist, or you're not a violinist who can play with his instruments to the public, share the emotions. You have this big apparatus, which is orchestra, and you have to share your own opinions with them.
Well,
your own
I
feelings.
would perhaps slightly correct you. We turn our ideas, or the ideas we find in the score, mm-hmm. into sounds, not into emotions. Mm-hmm. Emotions are reactions of the people who come in touch with these sounds. But that's not part of our job. A part of our job is to create the music. Mm-hmm. Music is a substance in its own right. And it's a substance which comes to life only when it resounds. Mm-hmm. So the score, when it is closed, it is an object.
Yeah.
When the score is opened and read by someone, it becomes music, but it becomes music only in the head, in the inner ear of the person who is reading it. Our task is to make the score become music for everyone. And that happens every time in a live process. Why is the conductor necessary? Because every player would have their own ideas about the part they see in front of them, but that is but a part. So you imagine there are about 80 to 120 participants in a symphonic work. Mm-hmm. Each one would have their own ideas about how this work should sound. It is sheer impossible to connect all these ideas without the presence of the one person who is in charge of all of this, but who is not, as you rightly said, not participating physically. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that the conductors cannot play any instruments. Normally
yes,
we can, but we don't perform these instruments during the performance of the symphonic
yes.
work, because we have another task. Our task is to connect between all these mm-hmm. different ideas, all these different emotional and musical worlds, and mold them into one whole performance.
Yeah. And how do you prepare for each encounter with the orchestra? Because the orchestras are so different, psychological different, of course, and you have to be a leader in front of them.
Yeah, well, I think the most important thing is to be prepared for the performance of each particular work we're doing. So the study of the score is essential, and it takes, I would say, 90% of our working time. So it starts months in advance. The actual meeting with the orchestra is a technical process, which, especially if someone has done it a few times and knows what to expect from each respective orchestra, is something which does not require such a profound preparation. You need to be prepared to perform the work, and you need to know the work inside out. Then you come to the orchestra, you encounter them, you propose them your reading, and you see and hear what they give you in return. So I think the most important thing, apart from the knowledge of the score, is the inner openness to meet your partner, your sparring partner. But sparring partner is not the same as enemy. You're not there to combat them, you're not there to annihilate them like it is in the sportive events like boxing or martial arts. You have to make them your colleagues, your part of your team, part of your plan. So you need to be open and project ideas as well as be able to receive their responses. Then you mold it together. So I repeat, from my point of view, the preparation should be always for the final performance, and it is always the dialogue between the conductor and the score. So the inner dialogue with the composer, which goes on from the first day of the preparation, which might be months before you meet the orchestra, and it can go on from rehearsal to rehearsal, and even from final rehearsal to the concert, you can still change things in that you change or improve your understanding of the work which you're performing. When meeting the orchestra, the main thing is to establish an energy connection with them, make them your allies. Then they will follow you wherever you call them.
In your entire career, did you had moments, difficult moments in collaboration with different orchestras? It's very important, your answer, for young musicians that are watching this interview and they want to become a conductor.
Well, I think every young conductor, and sometimes not so young conductor, goes through the moments of difficult clashes with orchestras, the orchestras not wanting to recognize one's authority, not wanting to follow our gestures or ideas. And I think it's important to take it in. This would perhaps a legitimate thing to compare to boxing matches or martial arts. If you want to go into combats, you should be prepared to take the blows. You're not always the one who is giving the blows, you receive the blows, and it's important to be able to take it in and withstand it, so not fall. And sometimes it's difficult, and I had situations where I was near the breaking point where I would just put the baton down and leave. but I have never left. I've never left the battlefield. I've never left a rehearsal. There were 2 or 3 moments where I was very, very near the point where I said, I don't need it anymore. But I have never done it. I know of other people who have. It's very much a personal choice.
Yeah.
But I think every energy rotating in the rehearsal room should be ideally turned in the favor of the musical process. We don't necessarily need to be personal friends with musicians with whom we perform. And tensions, which are often created in the rehearsal rooms, are mainly due to the fact that musical is a very emotional profession. Before I corrected you and said that music is not emotion, it isn't. Music is music. But music creates emotions. And music creates emotions in both people who hear it and people who make it. Plus, we should also never underestimate the fact that the musicians in the orchestra are under huge psychological and emotional pressure of perfection. And the better the orchestra, the higher the pressure. And some people simply can't cope with this pressure. And their egos play sometimes very, very strange games on them, and then they behave in a manner they would usually not behave in. And some people are better educated and better behaved than others. It doesn't say anything about their quality as musician. You can be a very rude person and a wonderful musician, and vice versa. You can be the sweetest person on earth and not such a good musician. So you have to see what's more important. And I always think that a good conductor should be always a little bit of a psychologist, a little bit of a diplomat, and a little bit of a doctor. So one should also have empathy even for people who are not very nice to you.
True. There is a saying, a wonderful one, that it goes like this: if you want the people to build a ship for you, you have to make them love the sea. I think a conductor is what exactly does with the musicians in front of him, and of course with the public. And in the end of our interview, I want you to say something to the young musicians that are watching you, of course, and they want to become something or someone in this musical world.
Well, I would say the most important thing is love the music more than you love yourself. Music is something which existed before we were born and which hopefully will exist after we're gone. So if you love the music, I'm not speaking of musicians, I'm speaking of the music itself, not any particular composers, just this miracle which comes into existence every time when instruments and voices are weaved together in harmony. That is music. And music is more powerful than all of us together. But music cannot exist without us. There is no music without human beings. So the music needs us. And we need the music because it is the main meaning of our life. Well, for me, it is definitely. Yes, there is also the other component, the human component, the family, the friends, children. But still, for me, the music is this higher purpose. So if you keep loving the music more than anything else, you're already on a good path. And the second thing is you should never stop the learning process. Even when you've left your conservatory, doesn't matter, 10, 15, 20, 50 years ago, there are still things to learn. There's still things to comprehend which you have not comprehended before. And you need to keep educating yourself, working on your own inner development on a daily basis. Even when you go to the bathroom, when you go for a walk, when you eat something, when you're meeting friends, you can still keep working it. It is a spiritual process, and there is no end to it. And the third thing I would say, never get discouraged by bad reviews or people not giving you enough credit in the after performance. Believe in yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much.